Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD bodybuilder, back with another video. Today I'm going to be giving you a full science-based hypertrophy program based on the 5-day full body split. This is one of the most popular requests I've been getting over the last few months and is one that I've put quite a bit of thought into in designing. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I'm currently in contest prep and I'm following a higher frequency full body split over 4 days per week. And I've utilized some of the insights I've gained in the program here. This is designed for an intermediate to an advanced athlete with high volumes. Quick outline for today, we're going to start off by doing a full program walkthrough where I share everything you need to know to run the program, including exercises, sets, and reps. After that, we'll talk about the weekly setup, or how I would prefer that you spread out the workouts throughout the week. And lastly, we'll go over the pros and cons of the 5-day full body split. This is going to be a banger, guys. If you enjoy my content, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, let's do our program walkthrough. This is Dr. Swole's 5-day full body program set for high volumes, designed for advanced athletes. We've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. Here are the exercises, and there are the sets and reps. Here we have the total number of sets for each workout, so you have an idea of your workout length. And down here we have our muscle group weekly set volumes. So quads, glutes and hamstrings, chest, back, side delts, biceps, triceps, and calves. You'll immediately see that this is a high volume program. Starting off with day 1, we start off with squats for the quads, 3 sets of 5 to 8. After that, we have hamstring curls, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Then we go on to incline barbell bench press for the chest, 3 sets of 5 to 8. And then we have chest supported rows for the back, 4 sets of 8 to 12. Following that, we have Bayesian curls for the biceps, where you do a single arm cable curl with your arm behind your body, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And then we have cable lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 12 to 20. And you can superset these 2 exercises. Lastly, we have seated calf raises for the calves, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Moving on to day 2, we start with a leg press, 3 sets of 10 to 15. After that, we go into leg press calf raises, which are a really nice superset, 3 sets of 10 to 15. After that, we have lunges, which I'm counting for glutes and hamstrings here, so take wide steps, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Then we have cable flies for the chest, 3 sets of 12 to 20, which you can superset with the Dr. Swole pull down. This is an advanced back exercise that I explain in a separate YouTube video that you can look up. 4 sets of 12 to 20. Then we have cable curls for the biceps, 2 sets of 10 to 15. After that, we have overhead cable extensions for the triceps, 2 sets of 8 to 12. And lastly, we have cable upright rows for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these 2 cable exercises. Moving on to day 3, we start off with the Romanian deadlift for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 6 to 10. After which we have leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 12 to 20. Notice that with my leg movements here, since I have multiple quad exercises back to back, I go towards easier and easier exercises as we go. For the glutes and hamstrings, you'll see that I mix up the actual movement types. So we have a hamstring curl here, which is a lot more different than a lunge variation. This is much more glute focused. Lunges are also significantly different than RDLs, which are a hip hinge. Then we have pin presses, which I count for chest and triceps, 4 sets of 6 to 10. I'd recommend setting your pins around 3 inches off your chest. Then we have dumbbell steel rows, which are a chest supported row for your back. You can do these on a bench set at a 30-degree incline, 4 sets of 8 to 12. Then we have lying bicep curls, which are like incline curls except you lie flat on the bench, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Following that, we have dumbbell lateral raises, 4 sets of 8 to 12 for the side delts. And you can superset these dumbbell exercises. We finish off with machine calf raises for the calves, 3 sets of 12 to 20. Moving on to day 4, we start off with hack squats for the quads, 3 sets of 6 to 10. You'll notice here that I have quite a bit of machine work in my program. I specifically chose these lower fatigue exercises since you'll be training with high frequencies and you'll need to recover, and because of the fact that I'm directing this towards the advanced athlete. An advanced athlete who can lift a lot of weight on the big compound movements like squat, bench, and deadlift will run into issues with fatigue if they try to program too much of this really heavy free weight work. Moving on, we have barbell hip thrust for the glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets of 8 to 12. Then we have dumbbell bench press for the chest, 3 sets of 6 to 10. After that, we have lat pull downs for the back, 4 sets of 10 to 15. Then we have dumbbell preacher curls for the biceps, 2 sets of 12 to 20, followed up by cable press downs for the triceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. You can superset on the cable stack with cable upright rows for your side delts, 4 sets of 10 to 15. We finish off again with some more machine calf raises, 3 sets of 8 to 12. On day 5, we start off with a Bulgarian split squat, which I'm counting for quads here, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And then we have barbell back extensions for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 8 to 12. This is a great lower fatigue hip hinge option. Then we have machine overhead presses, 3 sets of 6 to 10. And then we have cable rows for the back, 4 sets of 6 to 10. After that, we have rope hammer curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these with cable lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 12. Lastly, we have easy bar skull crushers for the triceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. You'll also note that I like to alternate between higher and lower rep ranges between back-to-back days. For example, with our back training here, we'll go from 8 to 12 to 12 to 20 to 8 to 12 again, and then 10 to 15 to 6 to 10. You probably don't want to be lifting with heavy weights every session, because you'll end up running into issues with your connective tissues. This can be a problem with high frequency full body splits, but as you can see, you can get around this by being intelligent with your rep ranges as well as your exercise selection. Notice that I've chosen a lot of fatigue sparing movements in this program. For example, chest supported rows, the Dr. Swole pull down, and quite a bit of machine work. For beginners, I recommend people just stick to more basic big compound movements because they'll involve more muscle mass. But for an advanced athlete, you really want to be thinking about your stimulus to fatigue ratio. That is, how well can I stimulate this muscle without incurring too much fatigue? Since advanced athletes are just able to lift more, you will run into problems if you try to focus on only big, heavy barbell movements, for example. Another thing I'll point out here is that this is a modified full body split. That is, we don't truly train every single muscle group in every single workout. For example, here on day 1, we don't directly train the triceps, and we don't train the calves on every workout. Knowing that you can drop certain muscle groups on certain days gives you a lot of power in customizing the program. A modified full body split is a great example of how to approach a program in seeing each muscle group as having its own individual setup. There are some caveats to this though, because muscle groups do interact with each other. For example, when you train your chest, you very often train your triceps along with it, and you wouldn't want to go into a main chest movement with really fatigued triceps. That's why you'll see that our main pushing movements here, our incline bench and dumbbell bench press, are preceded by rest days, and not a lot of tricep work. I haven't explained the weekly setup yet, but we'll talk about that now. Now that we've gone through the program, let me show you my preferred weekly setup. So this is how I design the program. Day 1, day 2, day 3, rest, day 4, day 5, and then rest. One of the really powerful things about the full body split that we'll discuss in a minute is that it's really flexible. That is, you can shuffle your workouts around really easily since you're training every muscle group every day anyways. Now, as I typically say in my videos, I like spreading out my rest days as much as possible throughout the week so that you can maximize fatigue distribution. That is, you want to get the most out of each rest day as possible. And there is some preference in the way I set this up. You'll notice that I put a couple of our tougher, higher priority movements on the days that come right after rest days. For example, squat on day 1 and a bench press on day 4. This way you can get the most out of those movements since you go into them rested. You will notice though that if you train high frequency full body for an extended period of time, you won't get as sore because your body gets used to that high frequency stimulus. So it might not be as big a deal shuffling workouts around throughout the week. All right, now let's talk about the pros and cons of the high frequency 5 days per week training strategy. First of all, you have excellent fatigue distribution. This is one of the big advantages of training with a high frequency full body. Since you're basically training every muscle with every workout, your training stress is divided very evenly across the week. And this is nice because you don't get those extreme highs and lows on your recovery demands. Next, high frequency full body is very flexible. That is, you can shuffle workouts around throughout the week, provided that you know what you're doing in terms of auto-regulation. Auto-regulation is your ability to modify a workout on the fly depending on how you're feeling in terms of performance and recovery. And to run a split like this, you really do need to know how to auto-regulate. 5-day full body also is very flexible in the fact that if you miss one day, it's really easy to make up the volume on the next day. You can just add in a few extra sets. Next, with this split, you have excellent customizability. Full body and modified full body splits are probably the most customizable programs. Obviously, different muscle groups will interact with each other, but to some extent, you can treat each muscle group as having its own separate program within the weekly layout. And since you have 5 opportunities to hit each muscle group, you have a lot of control in how you precisely train each muscle group on different days. And you don't necessarily need to train every muscle group every week. With a modified full body split, which I actually showed here, you can drop certain muscle groups on certain days. This will allow you to very easily customize frequency for different muscle groups. A lot of standard splits like push-pull legs and upper-lower have a very fixed number of times you hit each muscle group. And it isn't that easy to modify those programs unless you have a good idea of what you want to accomplish, like you've seen in my modified splits. Next, 5-day full body is great for strength training. Strength training typically benefits from higher frequencies. That is, you just have more opportunities to train that movement and build technical skill. So if you wanted to, you could follow a high frequency squatting program or high frequency benching. You'll also have lots of dedicated opportunities for accessory work. Lastly, a high frequency program like this allows for high volumes. If you're training with high volumes, there is research suggesting that you'll do better if you spread out that volume over more days across the week. So this 5-day full body program allows you to really ratchet up the volume for certain muscle groups that you might be prioritizing and just require more volume to grow. Now that we've gone over the advantages, let's talk about the disadvantages of the 5-day full body split. First of all, it's easy to overdo things with a high frequency program. If you train to failure on every set of every workout, you will likely run yourself into the ground really quickly. Since you're training the same muscle groups back to back, you have to have a good handle on auto-regulation. That is, you need to be able to titrate your repetitions in reserve. Based on how you're feeling, you might want to pull back a little bit on certain days. And this is something that I can't pencil into the program because you'll have to see for yourself as you go through it. This is the main issue making me recommend against this program for beginners. Out of all the splits, high frequency full body splits and modified versions of those are the trickiest splits to actually execute. So that's why I specifically designed this program for advanced athletes. Next, with a full body program, you tend to have long workouts. This is because since you might be training every muscle group in a workout, you'll need to warm up each muscle before you hit it. And this can add up to a lot of extra time depending on how heavy you lift. Lastly, with a full body program, you tend not to get as much of a pump. This is just because you're not hitting as many sets for each muscle group in one day. So if you like to chase that skin splitting pump feeling, this program might not be for you. Now I will be sharing the full program as an Excel file in my Facebook group. So if you haven't already, join my Facebook group using a link in my description and you can download the program for free. If you're trying to achieve body recomposition or lose fat, check out my latest book where I teach you step by step how to set up a meal plan for fat loss and execute a fat loss phase. Learning how to cut properly is essential for bodybuilding, so I recommend you check it out. If you want to see another high frequency, high volume program, check out my 6 days upper lower program, which is also designed for advanced athletes. For more science-based fitness tips, make sure you subscribe to the channel and we'll see you next time.